Hello everyone. This is the second game in a Chigorin versus Steinitz match. So, so the first game was won by Chigorin in an equal game in which Steinitz blundered a rook. So, in this game, Steinitz didn't want to play e4 and opted for a queen's pawn game. After knight f3, d5, d4, Steinitz decided to avoid purely tactical positions and just kill Chigorin positionally. But Chigorin didn't want to do this. Chigorin played bishop g4. Now, why would he play this? Well, first of all, it was his idea that he didn't need bishops and he would exchange them for knights. But also because, in his pet Chigorin defense, he often takes this knight to put pressure on the white d4 pawn. That is very interesting also to mention that this wasn't a new move in the position. Blackburn had played this line against some top players a few years before this match. So, he was nicknamed Black Death for a reason. So he was an attacking player, and Chigorin decided to play this aggressive move. But of course, I think it has more to do with his style of play and his pet defense, which was Chigorin's defense, which involves this bishop g4 move at some point. So bishop has to go somewhere after this move, right? Knight e5. Now Steinitz plays a top move. This is the best move today, so it puts the question to the bishop. Now, bishop h5 was played by Chigorin, so probably he wanted to pin the e-pawn for a while. Blackburn used to play bishop f5, and after g4, bishop e4, f3, f6 by Blackburn, f takes e4 was played. And Blackburn won that game. Blackburn won that game after f takes e5, d takes e5, and e6. But actually, after f6, white here has knight f7. And this is a really bad position for black, because black has to take this, and after it takes, well, black king is in the center, and this just can't be good, especially for a romantic attacking player like Chigorin. So we are back to bishop h5. So, after bishop h5, queen d3 was played. A very interesting move by Steinitz. Threatening queen b5, winning a pawn. So, Chigorin defended it with queen c8. And this move was repeated by Nigel Short in 2008 against a lower-rated player, and he won that game. But I don't think this is a true test, or it's a great move. So, c4 was played by Steinitz, stacking the center, and f6. Chigorin attacking the knight, so knight returns back, and now e6. So now both sides are developing normally. Knight c3, bishop g6, attacking the queen. Queen moves back, and now c6. And after e3, bishop to d6. So Chigorin is trying to improve his position and develop pieces, and both sides are doing the same thing. So bishop d2 from Steinitz, very logical, and now knight e7. And after rook c1 and knight d7, both sides are fine here. White has, of course, slight edge, but nothing serious. Now Steinitz goes for knight h4 and asking question to Chigorin, okay, do you want me to take your bishop or not? Now Chigorin basically could let him take this bishop, but I don't think it's a big deal for him, because after knight takes g6, well, for example, f5 was played by Chigorin. Now here, knight takes g6, h takes g6. There is no problem for black, because white king can't castle on the king's side. There's a black rook there, so it has to stay in the center. So I think that with white king staying in the center and black having a fine center, this should be okay for black. So after knight h4, f5 was played, creating a hole on e5, but solidifying the e4 square. And Steinitz goes crazy here. But of course it's true to his principle, because after g4, what Steinitz wants to do is just dislodge this f-pawn so that he can still get a grip in the center. This is true to his philosophy. So how would Chigorin continue from this position? Would he take and give up the center? Well, so Chigorin didn't take this yet. He played knight f6, just developing a piece first of all, holding the e4 square. And after h3, Chigorin goes in with knight e4. Now Chigorin has equalized the game, but of course White has some venom here. Steinitz played bishop d3, and now f takes g4. I mean, this move can't be great really, because it's hard to understand what his idea was. Steinitz's idea with g4 was to get the center, and Chigorin just gave it to him. So, of course, now knight takes g6 was played. And this is probably what Chigorin had in mind, that after h takes g4, if, for example, after f takes g4, Steinitz recaptured with h takes g4, then knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, and d takes c4, queen takes c4, and queen d7, with castle and queenside, and black looks fine. But, unfortunately, after f takes g4, Steinitz played knight takes g6. First taking this bishop, and after knight takes g6, now taking this knight here, and after d takes c4, knight takes c4. Well, the pawns are even at the moment. Nobody's up a pawn, but the knight is attacking a bishop, and when the bishop moves, now Steinitz is up a pawn, and he's not just up a pawn; he has a better center. He has a better center, and he has won a pawn. This was definitely a big oversight by Chigorin. Now e5 was played. I think this was probably the move that Chigorin was hoping for, because, for example, if d takes c5, knight takes c5, well, this doesn't look that bad, because now the g-pawn is attacked, and the knight is very well centralized. Black will castle. This could be fine for black. But after e5, Steinitz just played d5. This is the move that probably Chigorin missed, because the pawn, that pawn on e5, the black pawn, will stay fixed until the rook will get on the h5 square, and then in combination with bishop c3 will get eaten up. And just white just has a a passed pawn. So how can Chigorin continue? Okay, so d5 move looks like what Chigorin missed. Now queen d7 was played by Chigorin, and after bishop c3, putting pressure on this pawn, and rook d8, rook h5 was played. Just Steinitz is playing very well here. Just he knows that there is a weakness on e5, and he's attacking it. Chigorin takes this pawn, and here it's hard to understand what Chigorin missed. He could have simply played queen takes d5, and after queen takes d5, rook takes d5, and f4 by Steinitz, and castles, and king e2. Well, the position is not good for black at all. Black is a pawn down, and this h-file for the rooks seems scary, because after rook f d8, f takes e5, black is also up, white just captures this pawn. Yeah, the pawn structure isn't best, but I don't think that Chigorin would hold this. But maybe he would. This was his only chance, though. But after c takes d5, Chigorin just castles. And this is a game-losing blunder. Because this is what he missed. That after d6, bishop has no good squares. So queen b3 was played. Queen e6 was played, just moving out, because the pawn is pinned at the moment, so it can't capture the bishop, because the queen will fall. But now queen b3 from Steinitz, and this is really bad now for Chigorin, because, well, queen has to take it. There's nothing else to do here. So after queen takes, a takes, this is what he missed, that after bishop takes d6 and knight takes d6 there, and rook takes d6, there is this skewer with bishop b4. And this is definitely what cost him the game, because after this move, Steinitz was up in exchange and converted very simply. Because after a series of moves here, oops, okay, so just skip through these moves. King f5, f3, rook g2, and rook a6. And here Chigorin resigned. The first two games of this match were decided by blunders from each player, but we already see their styles and attitudes in action. Steinitz is trying to play positionally, true to his principles, and Chigorin sometimes goes all out to prove Steinitz too wrong. Let's see what happens in game 3. Thank you.